Well, you can tell that we pre-record because this is definitely April Fool's Day. You're listening to WXED 107.3. This is DJ Nikki with the weekly news wrap-up with Jonathan Cortez from elwoodcity.org. We just sat here for like 20 minutes recording the news weekly wrap-up only to find out that one of the microphones wasn't working. So the soundboard was like, fooled you. So anyway, if you guys are tuning in, I want to remind you guys that the WXED Soup fundraiser is still going on right now. So if you're tuning in, the Soup fundraiser is from 5 to 8 o'clock. Make sure you guys come over here to 316 6th Street and take part in our Soup fundraiser. Okay, so now that we are actually recording and the microphones are working, I can say there's not a whole lot of news for Elwood for this April Fool's Week, but we do have some other stuff to talk about. So tell me, what has people fired up right now?
In the state Senate, they're reviewing a bill to legalize medical marijuana.
People are getting fired up.
Yeah. So the way that will work is it'll be a very government-controlled system where people can get prescribed medical marijuana for a range of ailments.
Okay.
And it won't have the psychoactive effects that what we'll be getting.
You said that you read a poll and Pennsylvania is pretty on board with this, like a real high percentage.
Yeah, about 90% of Pennsylvanians support
Wow.
medical marijuana. So we should urge our Senate then to pass that, since it's reflective of what the people want.
What the people want, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that I have a lot of friends who live in Ohio, and they had voted on this last year, and they said that the way that it was worded for the voting was like misleading and kind of almost tricky. And a lot of the people who ultimately voted against it, they actually meant to vote for it, but because it was misleading, they misunderstood it and they accidentally voted wrong. So if you're out there, Pennsylvanians, Elwoodians, make sure that you read it and you understand that the way that you're voting. Otherwise, you'll end up in the same boat as Ohio. Ohio voted against it.
Was Ohio that they just do a straight up vote, since this is just being decided in Harrisburg?
Yeah, so Ohio, it was up for vote, and they were running a lot of commercials that kept saying, vote for 3, vote for 3. But somehow, I mean, the people that I talked to were like, really mad after the voting happened because they said that the question, the way that it was laid out, was misleading.
Yeah.
And they accidentally voted no when they meant to vote yes. So. But you said that Elwood, the state senator, came down and talked to us.
Yeah, there was a roundtable. Senator Mike Fulmer, who's the bill's prime sponsor, talked about it. And, he pretty much flat out said that he believes the federal government is wrong in making medical marijuana illegal.
Oh, okay. So he is for it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's the bill's sponsor.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys have been running over there at elwoodcity.org a link to the weekly news wrap-ups, so people that go to elwoodcity.org can click and listen even if they've missed it. And WXED, actually, we're working on the same idea. We are working on a link where people can click and it'll take them to a whole page, and they'll be able to see all the different shows and listen to everything that's ever been done here. So that's pretty cool. I was excited. I got a lot of good feedback from people who have seen the link on your site and they've listened to it. They've actually called into the station and they were like, well, we didn't really know what was going on over there. And then we saw this link on elwoodcity.org and we realized that you guys are legitimately really doing this thing. So thank you.
Good, then.
Thank you. So what else do we have going on?
I wasn't completely wrapped up with.
I always do that to you.
With marijuana.
I need to give you like a red flag and a blue flag. Red flag means we're still talking about the same topic, and blue means okay, we're done.
So, from a few of the things I read, there are going to be one of the problems the bill is facing is some of the specifics of it may end up making it a lot less effective than what the original intention of the bill was. It'll make it harder for doctors to prescribe to patients. Oh, I think it's, now I remember specifically, doctors will have to take like a course in order to be able to prescribe it, which sounds which initially doesn't sound that bad of an idea, but I guess what ends up happening is just that so few doctors end up, taking it and completing it, that depending on where you live, you could end up being like
in an area
a
where
2-hour drive away from a doctor who won't
I know
prescribe
that
it.
with seeing the history of other like medications when they first come out, a lot of times the pharmaceutical companies will reimburse doctors certain amenities to push a new prescription. So if you have enough advocates out there that want it to happen, they may entice the doctors to go ahead and take the course.
Yeah. Well, in general, pharmaceutical companies aren't a big fan of medical marijuana.
I know.
That cuts
I'm just
right
saying
into
that if they follow the same idea, they could probably get doctors more on board with it. And I personally think that it would be a good bill. I know a lot of people who suffer from debilitating diseases, cancer and multiple sclerosis, and diseases that are some of them are lifetime debilitating. A friend of mine has multiple sclerosis and is in very bad shape all the time. And if it was something like, because the medical marijuana isn't like, street marijuana. We were talking earlier, and it doesn't cause the same. It's not exactly the same.
It's not even using THC,
right?
Because there's a few different chemicals in the marijuana plant,
right? And I know that we know so many people with cancer, and I know that in other states, a friend of mine, she lives in California, and over there it started as a medical use thing only, but then it became something where if you just paid a doctor a couple $100, he would pretty much write it for you for whatever. So, I mean, hopefully they start fixing. It's kind of like when they come out with a new computer program, there's always that beta testing era. So hopefully, since we're on the tail end of this movement that's happening in the country, we'll have already learned from other states' mistakes and, get it right. Anyway, so red flag or blue flag?
Oh, yeah, we can move on now.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
So the other thing, this is happening in Newcastle, but the murder trial of Leon Platt will begin on Monday, and he is charged with murdering Richard Hogue in November 2013.
Do we know
on Loop Street?
Do we know any other details?
From what I understand from reading archived articles, so I don't have the full story on this. I wasn't living in Elwood when it happened. But the two of them and several other people were in an apartment on Loop Street, and Richard Hogue was murdered, and Leon Platt was later picked up and arrested. And there is as far as I know, there's one witness for that. And
they're going to testify in the trial?
Yeah.
Okay.
From what I understand, there's been issues with the witness in the past 2 years. So I'm actually not sure what the latest up-to-date is on that. The trial was supposed to start today, but one of the jury people got sick, which
so they moved it to Monday.
I thought that's what the alternates were for.
Right,
but
that's why they pick alternates.
There's a law that says you have to have an even number of alternates to start the trial.
Oh.
Which I'm guessing it's they picked the even thing for some reason. I don't know. Like if you have 3, you can't start the trial, but if you have 2, you can.
That's weird. Yeah, that's weird.
But anyway, since there was only one alternate, they had to postpone it till Monday. And I think it's sort of an odd thing is I heard the prosecution, if Platt is convicted, that they're going to push for the death penalty. Which
what?
I have it written down here. Since 1976, only 3 people in Pennsylvania have been executed.
Wow.
And all 3 of them waived their right to appeal the death sentence.
Oh, so they just accepted it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and 1999 was the last death penalty. So that seems kind of odd. And then, I don't know that much about the trial, but it does seem like...
Well, the details of it must be pretty gruesome for them to go after a death penalty like that.
But it doesn't seem like there's a huge case, unless they have more testimony than one witness that doesn't seem that credible.
Yeah.
Unless they have more evidence than that. But, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's wild. So I know that Wait, are we done with this one?
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't want to walk on you. Okay, so I know that we had missed the wrap up on this a couple weeks ago. We said that we would get back to people. Our swimmer actually competed. It was the day that we were doing it, and we said that we would get back to people, and we forgot. So let's give everybody an update.
Yeah, so Taylor Petrak, who's a junior at the PIAA swimming competition, she was second in the 50-yard freestyle and third
I think so.
in the 100-yard. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had talked about the people who actually had beat her this year are seniors. So because she's a junior, she has a very good shot next year at taking first. So
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, and she did place first and second in those events last year, though one of the seniors that beat her this year didn't compete last year.
okay.
Yeah.
And because she's a senior, she won't compete next year. So Taylor has a good shot at that. Anything else going on this week?
I don't believe so.
Wow.
I think that's...
It's been kind of a slow week around here. You know what it is though? Springtime is just starting to hit, and this is like when things really start to come alive around here. So we'll have way more to talk about as the weather keeps breaking. You know, because people get out, there's more events going on. So
We're having a very special guest next week.
yes. Oh, I forgot we wanted to talk about that. Yeah. So you guys know that Mayor Anthony Court is a usual guest for WXCD for his Mayor's Minute, but he's actually going to be Jonathan's guest on the weekly news wrap up next week. So I don't know if I'm excited or nervous. I know that I'll have to do a lot less talking next week because you guys are going to be in the hot seats with each other. So I guess I'm excited.
And we're hoping this will be a start of regular guest appearances by both Elwood City and Elwood City School District officials and elected officials.
So if you guys want to check out any past news wrap-up shows, don't forget you can catch the link on elwoodcity.org. And also coming up very shortly, you'll be able to catch the link at the WXCD Facebook site, which is WXCD 107 FM Official. And click on that and you can listen to the archived shows. So once these interview-style news wrap-up shows get going, this could cause a lot of conversation in the area. That's the best thing to do is to get two people, and, you know, especially if they have opposite opinions on things, because then your listeners, you'll have, you know, this percentage of listeners will agree with that person and the other will agree with that person. Before you know it, it turns into kind of a community interaction, kind of a debate, you know. I mean, once in a while you'll see somebody get crazy about a debate, but most of the time it just opens up the door for intellectual interaction with each other. So I'm excited that you're going to start bringing guests in. I think it's going to be a great thing. Now, tell me, was this your personal kind of brainchild idea? Is this something you wanted to do, or is this elwoodcity.org thought it was a good idea?
I don't know who the origin of the idea can be traced to. I know that when Eric Venezi, Cindy, and I initially talked about this program, it was one of the things that was brought up that we could have council members and school board members and the mayor and people like that as guests.
Well, that is exciting. It's exciting, too, that the mayor will be your first interview guest on the show. So that will be next week here on WXCD. Make sure you tune that in at 6 p.m. on Saturdays is the news wrap-up. And usually actually following that is the Mayor Minute. So I'm not sure how I'm going to run that next week. I think we might just run it as one for that one. So, all right, well, is that everything that you wanted to wrap up for this week?
Indeed.
All right, then that's a wrap-up. Jonathan, I hope you have a great weekend. And don't forget also, if you're tuning in 6 o'clock, we still have 2 more hours left on the WXED Soup Fundraiser Dinner. It's happening downstairs, 316 6th Street, right behind the police station, kind of catty corner. Tickets are $8, but you get 3 bowls of soup. You also get salad, bread. Desserts are optional, a beverage. And if you want to do takeout, You only get one choice of soup, but it's a big quart of it. So it's a great deal. Plus, there's also a Chinese auction going on and a 50-50. So it's a good fundraiser to come check out. Jonathan, thanks always every week for being here from elwoodcity.org, and we'll see you next week.